Today, I'm in conversation with Byron Matebe Fundira, global businessman and philanthropist. You are watching the UK series brought to you in partnership with the Nyaradzo Group. I go beyond the headlines and beyond the sensational. If you enjoy this conversation, remember to subscribe, to like, and to share. Let's get down to some work. Greetings. Welcome to In Conversation with Trevor UK series brought to you by the Nyaradzo Group. I go beyond the headlines and beyond the sensational. If you enjoy this series, remember to subscribe, to like, and to share. Let's get down to some work. Byron Matebe Fundira, welcome to In Conversation with Trevor.
Thank you, Trevor,
Fantastic.
for having me.
I'm looking forward to having this conversation with you because you've such an amazing life. I don't know how you manage to do all these things all at the same time. So you're going to share that with us. I want to start you where you say your father and paternal grandfather, as far as you're concerned, have been very influential in the person that you become, particularly this quote that you give, to whom much is given, much is expected. How much has that been a guiding principle in your life?
I think it's been tremendous, Trevor. I cannot recall a moment when those two individuals would sit down and relax. And that was embedded in me from a very young age to say, when you are given some responsibilities, you need to take them seriously. And life is a responsibility. And they instilled in me the ethos of working hard, striving to do the best that you can, and also to be able to pick up from your failures and still continue.
So, what did you see them doing? What were they running around doing?
So my paternal grandfather was a headmaster for many years. He plied his trade in Bohera, firstly at Hande School, which was near Doroame mine, and then later on, and then he was moved during the war to various schools, and then Mombearara is one of them, again in Bohera. But we are originally from Shirugwi, in Nema. So he then moved when he was about to retire to Shirugwi. But at the same time, he was a lay preacher at the same time for Methodist Church. So after school, we used to, from this day job, he used to go preaching. So, and then he had also had a big family, my father's family. There were 10 of them, 6 boys and 4 women. And he also thrived to ensure that all his children went to school. And my parents, my fathers speak about how he was rearing pigs, he was plowing the fields, and everyone was busy. Yeah.
And your father?
My father, he also went into the teaching profession. Again, started off in Bohera and then moved to Mashingo, which is where, as you can tell from I said I was born in Kutu. So he met my mother when he was working in Mashingo, Bikita actually. He taught at Pamshana Mission and then was then promoted to be a lecturer at Morgenstern Teachers College. And then he moved into insurance and started plying his trade. So throughout that journey, he was, again, not only just doing that, but also he started various businesses. I'm told when I was younger, he started a grinding mill when he was teaching in Bohera. And then he had to abandon that because of the war. And then when he moved to Masvingo, he was one of the first pioneering businessmen to open up shops in a new suburb that is called Sisk in Masvingo. I think named after John Sisk, the builder. And so there was always an ethos of working hard and also being creative and a lot of tenacity, because the environment was not always conducive for making it. There were lots of challenges, but the challenges were often not even recognized as challenges, but often taken as opportunities.
Fantastic. I'm going to ask us to do a helicopter view of your operations. And I'm really wanting you to just give us a sentence or two about the enterprises that I'm going to touch on.
Okay.
We're going to come back and drill into those. I just want our viewers to get a sense of the how huge your responsibilities are. So, starting off with Chiltern Support and Housing.
Yes.
In 2 sentences, what does it do?
Supported living for vulnerable adults in the United Kingdom.
And how long has it been going for?
This is our 16th year of operation since 2008. We opened up during the peak of the credit crunch.
And what's the thinking behind it?
Okay, this again had a lot of genesis from back home. My mother was a teacher for people working for people with special needs. So when my father was a lecturer at Morgenster, she taught at the Central Primary School, and then she taught at the School for the Deaf. And then afterwards, she then went to teach at Zimuto School for the Blind, and then was headmistress for Zimke in Masvingo. So I grew up around people with various cognitive impairments as well as disabilities. And when I came over here, it was always something in me to make a difference.
Wow.
So that's how that was the genesis.
My heart is, you say that, just, And Park Hill Support Services, briefly?
So Park Hill was an offshoot of, when we were operating Chiltern, there was an opportunity to buy Park Hill from some people who were letting go of that business. So we then bought that business as a merger. So it's a subsidiary of Chiltern.
And you do pastoral care programs, roughly 2 minutes, not a minute, 2 seconds. What's the thinking? This is for your staff, eh?
Yes. So over the last 3 years, the UK Home Office opened up the opportunity for people to come on what they call the Certificate of Sponsorship program. But we quickly realized the need for people to have support to enable them to adjust to their new environments, because people from various professions, various backgrounds were coming over, and some were finding it very difficult to adjust. So we thought we needed to give them an opportunity to get some form of psychological and emotional support with their new environment and new circumstances. Because when I came, there wasn't a lot
We'll go there. Don't rush there. We'll go there. And the big one, Mukahuru Tours and Resorts.
Yes.
Again, as briefly as possible, we're going to
Mukahuru Tours and Resorts was born out of the desire to bring back home opportunities for people to travel and have access to facilities, but also to build upmarket facilities for people who come on holiday or want to come and stay home when they travel back home. So we wanted to bring some of the things that people travel to Spain or to other parts of the world, like jet skiing and all that, back home, so they could experience that.
I don't know where you get the time to do this. I mean, and now I think viewers at home will realize why I say, where do you get the time to do this? You've created sub-brands. I mean, there's so many of them. I couldn't go through all of them right now. You've got Diaspora Dads, Cradon Daycare, and Chiltern Academy. So we'll walk into those later on. Talk to me. 2020. I thought this was enough, but 2025. you are thinking of doing something else, wellness travel.
Yes, so that's something that has been deep in my heart, to bring Zimbabwe to the people in the diaspora, but not so much to us Zimbabweans, but the people that we support through our businesses in Chiltern and Park Hill, to enable them to experience the beauty of Zimbabwe. So that's what we are going to be doing in 2025.
And the Byron Fundira Foundation?
Yes, like I said, most of what I do is based on wanting to give back, and it was just a natural progression for me to think about how do we cascade or to share the knowledge that I've gained here with others, other young people who want to start off in business. So we want to do mentorship programs for young people who want to start off in business. But I was then also approached by the African Philanthropic Forum to look at gender disparity programs. So I'm part of that initiative to look at gender inequalities and how we can bridge the gap between the male and female girl child in Zimbabwe and across Africa.
Where do you get all the time to do this?
Like I said, there's a lot of emphasis on hard work. So there's a lot of hard work, lots of long hours.
Yeah.
But yes.
How long are these hours?
Generally, my day starts at 5 in the morning. Between 4 and 5, just depends. And up to 10 at night. So from 5 o'clock, I'm meeting with my teams in Southern Africa because the day starts then, especially in winter here when there's a 2-hour difference. So for them, it's 7 o'clock. So that's when I meet with them. And then
the last thing you do at 10?
At 10 is often catching up with my teams here. But no, at 10, but also with the children. I've been a single dad for about 10 years now. So yes, also catching up with them.
You've already spoken about the difficulties of coming into the UK and settling down, particularly during your time when there wasn't these facilities that you are building. Talk to me about the reasons why you left Zimbabwe.
I can't pinpoint one thing, but I'm really grateful to Zimbabwe for affording us a good education. We were able, it enabled us to come and fit into different environments. I went to Victoria High School in Masvingo, and then Victoria Primary School, and then Victoria High School in Masvingo, and then went to University of Zimbabwe. But we had challenges in 1999, due to the things that were happening then. And the university was closed indefinitely. So that's what drove me to come here. The program I was doing...
You were a student?
Yes.
Then. What were you studying?
Veterinary science.
Veterinary sciences.
Yes.
So you had to leave before you finished your program?
Yes.
Okay.
And I wanted to come and continue. We had affiliate lecturers coming from Bristol University, and we wanted to come and continue. But because I was now starting my clinical years, when we inquired...
What year were you in when you...
Fourth year.
Fourth year. Wow. You're almost there.
Yes. But when I came over, I had been quoted when I arrived. I remember I came on the 28th of August, 1999, intending to start that September at Bristol. And then when I got here, they said, unfortunately, we charged you, or we quoted you fees for a local student, and you're going to be a foreign student.
Yeah,
a foreign student. So, and from annual tuition fee of about £5,000, which my mom had sold her, I remember she sold old mutual shares to get, they said it was going to be 20,000. as most people, because I wanted to not to be out of status, I then tried to enroll onto another course. And at that time, there was what they called Project 2000, which was a nursing program for people to do nursing. So that's when I enrolled to be a nurse. But I was only able to start the following year in 2000, and not in 1999. So I had almost a year to try and keep myself going.
Wow. A vet scientist in the making, suddenly finding yourself training to be in the healthcare sector as a nursing aide.
Yes.
Wow. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to go to what it was like when you land expecting to do something else and then suddenly things change. So at home, don't go away. See you on the other side.
Initially, I was doing cleaning, porter, cleaning dishes in nursing homes and cleaning.
Sending money from the UK to Zimbabwe? Look no further. Introducing Sawira Money, your gateway to seamless money transfers. You can collect at Sawira Money Transfer Agency offices at selected Nyaradzo branches. With Sawira, it's quick, easy, done.
You're watching the UK series brought to you in partnership with the Nyaradzo Group. I'm in conversation with Byron Matebe Fundira. So there you are, Byron. You land, and your mother's cow sold to pay your fees to continue your vet science studies is not enough because they say they misquoted you.
Yes.
What then happens?
Yeah, you have to try and survive. Because at the time we could fly in without actually a visa. But you are issued a visitor's visa, which is maximum 6 months, or sometimes they would even issue it for a shorter period. It was now a matter of what do I do to remain? Because you know that everything that has enabled you to come has been spent. There's no more
so
going
now
back.
you're on your own.
You can't go back to the source. And being the eldest child, I knew I had a responsibility to make things work. However, I started.
So what did you start doing? What did you do?
So I had a friend of mine. We had been at university together. He had stayed back. But he said to me, I've got my sister who is running an agency, contact her. So I did. My aunt, my brother, my dad's sister, she had been living here. And she's the one who had facilitated me coming. And my father had said, no, he's not going anywhere, he's staying.
Your father didn't want you to come?
No, he didn't.
Why didn't he want you to come?
Because in his mind, he was saying, as I said, there was always the work ethos. He can make it here. Whichever the circumstances, he can make it here. There is no giving up on what we have. And what makes you, if you can't make it here, what makes you go and make it there? Yeah, exactly. So that was his principle. Yeah.
So what did you eventually do to make ends meet?
So I came and stayed with my aunt in South London. And then after about a week, I said, I'm moving out. She was shocked. She said, where are you going? I said, I'm going. She had helped a lot of people. And when I got there, I realized I needed to be a man and get out and stand on my own 2 feet. So that's what I did.
So what did you do?
I moved to Hampshire, where my friend's sister was operating, and looked and said, I'm coming to work there. And we were staying.
What work was that?
Initially, I was doing cleaning, porter, cleaning dishes in nursing homes and cleaning, and then Then I started doing some care work with her.
How long did you do that for?
With her, it was 2 months. But what became a challenge was the fact that we were not being paid.
With her?
Yes. And in talking to others, they said it was kind of like a modus operandi that she doesn't pay people. Because she knew
she's taking care of you, isn't she?
In a way, yes. Yeah. But you go to work and you want to be remunerated because you have other responsibilities for yourself. And like I said, yes, she did look after us, but we also
you had other responsibility. Yeah.
Yes.
So how long did you stay within the care cleaning environment?
Because that's when I then applied to do nursing, but I was only able to start in September. So this was now about January 2000 when I moved. So I worked with her from September to about 3 months until January.
And nursing, how long did you do nursing for?
For 3 years.
For 3 years.
Yeah, until 2003. But I then moved area from Hampshire to firstly to Oxford.
How did that sit with you? You are almost a vet, and you're doing this work, cleaning and doing nursing care. Talk to me about that season, what that meant to you and what it taught you.
I would say it taught me to accept a lot of things that you'd not ordinarily accept. There was a lot of
Do I hear humility there? Humbling?
Yes, absolutely. You had to quickly adapt and say, this is what my circumstances are now. And I have to live with what I have right now. I would say, but in the background, there was always this determination that this was not going to be the be and end all of me.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think early 2000s, one of the things that I had seen my father do was that he would invest in property and so forth. So I remember going into a bank, because now when I started earning, I'd opened a bank account.
Yeah.
And going to a bank, and I think it was one of the building societies, and they asked for a mortgage. And they sat down and looked at my account and said, yeah, we'll give you a mortgage.
Really?
And I thought, so I went house hunting.
Yeah.
But, at that time, because you ask people who have been here before, they said, you're on a visitor's visa. They'll deport you if you buy a house. And I regret that, because that house, which if I had bought it then, it would have been a huge asset.
But could you have bought it with your visitor visa?
At that time.
So your friends put you off a
great actually some family members who said...
Tell me, it sounds to me this was tough. It was humbling, like you're saying. It was tough. Did you ever think of giving up? Did you ever think my dad was right to say I shouldn't come here? Did that ever cross your mind?
I think that spurred me on to say I need to prove that this will work.
I need to prove him wrong.
Yes, I need to prove that I can't.
To him.
Oh, of course, there was no alternative. And actually, sadly, at that time, he fell ill and eventually passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
But
isn't it
what I did before he passed away was to bring him over here. So I managed to put some money together, and he came over.
That's good.
Yeah.
Beautiful that the thought of you knowing he's not going to accept me, let me prove him wrong, kept you going, isn't it?
Yeah, because for him, failure was not an option.
And you had failed, almost failed. Is that what you're saying? You looked like failure now.
It looked like yes, it looked like a step back. And I remember talking to my brothers who were saying, how can you, yes, you used to be very intelligent. What has happened to you?
That can be helpful. That.
But brothers are always honest.
Yes,
they were telling, they said, I used to be our limelight in the family. How can
what has happened in London?
What has happened to you?
So you find your feet. And what is the first project that you get into? Is it the children's support and housing?
So after qualifying as a nurse, I worked for the National Health Service from 2004 up to 2008. But from 2006, again, the perennial entrepreneurial instinct just kicked in. Yeah. So actually in 2001, I eventually bought my first property.
Congratulations.
And then also got married. And when the children are coming, the first child was born in 2004, a son. And we had to move because it was a 2-bedroom house that we had bought at that time. So we then decided to move to a bigger house, which was more spacious enough to have the family. But what I learned through that process was that you could actually remortgage the property and take the equity out and buy another property. So from then on, it's just spiraled. What had then happened as well is that I had gone home to visit one of my uncles, and he was doing a similar model in Zimbabwe. So he took me around, showing me where his property portfolio, dealing with tenants. We spent a whole day together, and I was inspired. I was inspired. I said, I have to do the same here.
Inspired by Sekuru in Zimbabwe to replicate his model in the UK.
Yeah, by Bamnini.
Bamnini, yeah.
Yes, yeah. He was always very philosophical about, you can do things wherever you are. And So I started remortgaging. I remortgaged that family home to get more equity and bought 2 flats, which I still have, in 2006. And then, just started.
You've said something which is important, which is you can do anything wherever you are. But that depends on your own state of mind, isn't it? Because wherever you go, as somebody said, there you are. Unless you as an individual have changed, the geography doesn't change you.
No.
The person inside.
Yes.
Isn't it?
And your determination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what does Chiltern Support? So we did a helicopter view. So you launched Chiltern Support. And then let's go to your passion for taking care of people with mental health issues. Particularly what I like is you say that you wanted to change the stigma, deep-rooted stigma around the way African culture views mental health issues. You call them outdated attitudes around mental illness and learning disabilities. Talk to me about where that comes from and what you've been able to do to address that.
So when I was working in the NHS, the National Health Service, as they call it, here, I was working in the community. And I was a community psychiatric nurse, so we used to go and visit people in their homes or accommodations. And at the time, things hadn't also progressed here as much as they thought they had. So, for example, they had come up with a piece of legislation, which was the K in the Community Act. And that piece of legislation was about putting people back into community. They used to have big institutions, big hospitals where people stayed for a long time. So they decided we want to move people back into the community. But it wasn't well thought out because they were going to rely on the council system to provide housing for them. And But the housing process is where you bid to get a council house. And again, different government policies. There had been a big demise in council accommodation. A lot of council accommodation had been sold off. And privatized. So a lot of these guys were being asked to go and bid like everybody else onto the housing bidding lists. Yes, they would be given points to be, and then they would be put into a flat or a house and say, hey, there you go.
But they've got their issues.
They've got their issues.
So you saw an opportunity.
Yes. Well, for me, because I was working in the community, and a lot of them, you'd see how their struggles, because they would now be getting this money. They had no budgeting skills. They had been in an institution for a very long time where everything had been provided for them, and suddenly they were
let out on their own.
So a lot of them would go into the drug space, or they would be abused by people, either in most cases, people who knew them and their vulnerabilities, take their money away. So they would struggle to have even a meal, and the system would be saying, but we're giving you money, so you should be okay.
But they don't have the life skills,
correct,
to deal with the situations outside.
So that's where the drive to make a difference came from, to say maybe. So I started reading around the legislation, because at the time as well, so I actually started applying to set up Chiltern in 2006. And for a whole 2 years, it was back and forth with the legislation and people not understanding what I wanted to do. There was a white paper that had been done that described how this was to work. And I kept saying, but this is what the government white paper says. But the institutions that were there was a body called the Commission for Social Care Inspection at the time, didn't understand what the government white paper did. So I remember eventually in 2008 when they agreed to register, it was just after a new legislation had come into effect, the Health and Social Care Act 2008. That's when they then said, okay, we'll register you this way.
Briefly, what you are in Buckinghamshire, you are in Beasley, you are in Oxfordshire, Barnet, Enfield, Harrow, Surrey, Hertfordshire, Rochdale, and Manchester. Is it about buying assets, houses, and creating sort of facilities for people that live with mental health issues?
Correct. Majority of it. But we also lease sometimes. It just depends on the circumstances. But predominantly, yes, we buy the properties and develop them. We actually have a team of...
So you now have a proper portfolio.
Yes.
A big one, significant.
In fact, that's what started first. So between 2006 and 2008, I went a lot into buying properties. Then the credit crunch came in 2008. And that model of remortgaging and releasing equity
was no longer sustainable. We're going to stop there and take a break. I want to come back and go to a point of how do you live with the fact that I wanted to be a vet scientist, but this is what I'm doing? Are you comfortable? Are you now okay with not having been a vet scientist and doing what you're doing right now? At home, don't go away. When we come back, we're going to go to that space. See you on the other side.
So my father had been an agronomist, and we had done a lot of animal husbandry, and hence why the choice to go the veterinary route.
Sending money from the UK to Zimbabwe? Look no further. Introducing Sawira Money, your gateway to seamless money transfers. You can collect at Sawira Money Transfer Agency offices at selected Nyaradzo branches. With Sawira, it's quick, easy, done.
You're watching the UK series brought to you in partnership with the Nyaradzo Group. I'm in conversation with Byron Matebe Fundira, global entrepreneur and philanthropist. So you wanted to be a vet scientist. that has not happened. This is what you're doing now. What's your thinking around that?
If I'm being honest,
Yeah, we want you to be honest. You have to be honest.
I have no regrets
At all.
I don't know how my life would have been being a vet. I can only envisage or imagine, but I wouldn't replace what I'm doing now for anything.
How do you, in your own mind, how do you explain to yourself inside you the fact that this is what I wanted to do? I studied for 4 years. It didn't happen. What does that mean? What is life telling you?
I think one of the things that I also, which is why we have set up the Byron Fundira Foundation, is especially during our era, there was not a lot of career guidance. So if you were a bit clever at school, a lot of us were taken down the path of doing sciences and aiming to be either become an engineer, a doctor, or a vet, or some profession that was deemed to be of high regard. But
without a psychoanalysis done, whether you fit that space.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And actually what you want, and often we are driven by what our parents were passionate about. So my father had been an agronomist, and we had done a lot of animal husbandry, and hence why the choice to go the veterinary route. Yes, I also wanted to please my parents and to be a good child. But when this set of circumstances I've described befell me, and then I actually realized that I was doing things from the heart rather than just it being a job. And that has continued with me. And
fascinating. So it's almost to you a confirmation of this is what I was meant to do.
Yeah, I think for those who know me, I'm very passionate about what I do, and I relate very well to the people that we support across the board. I think across all the services that I run.
You have 250 staff members.
That's correct.
From, I think the last time I counted, it's about 13 nations, if not more. Zimbabwe, Zambia, Poland, South Africa, UK, Uganda, Botswana, Pakistan, Kenya, Ghana, Tanzania, Philippines, Bangladesh, and India. And you say your staff are the most important investment for your company. Talk to me about that.
Yes, we are a service industry, and people are really vital to what we do. But most importantly, the heart or the ethos that those individuals have about people, because we support people. And it's a very delicate line of work in terms of how people support each other, how people relate to each other, and how those individuals across the board have a heart for people and want to make a difference in their lives. So we invest a lot in training them, and enabling them to understand our ethos as an organization, to enable them to also be there for people, especially at their most difficult times.
It's an environment where you can't pretend, isn't it?
You can't. And that's one thing that I've learned in the years that I've been doing this, that no matter how cognitively impaired someone may be, their intuition is always there. And if you are not doing things the right way and for the right reasons, it will come out.
Interesting. So that's one thing that you've learned about dealing with people dealing with mental issues. What other thing has life taught you working in this space about human beings?
I think they've taught me more than I have given to them. Just in terms of my own emotional intelligence, in terms of how I relate to other people, how I look at every human being and see the value that they can bring to any situation. And it also taught me how grateful I should be of the the things that we
Oh.
all take for granted, because there are a lot of people out there who don't have those opportunities. So early on, you were asking me about the being a vet and not going back to being a vet and doing this. And like I said earlier, I wouldn't replace it for anything, because I've actually developed more and gained more from them.
That is special to me. That's special to me. Looking at people and saying each person has value, and each person is God's creation.
Yes.
And there's a reason why they were created.
Correct.
I'm not different from them.
Yes.
They are running their race. I'm running my own race.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Beautiful. Let's go to the big one. Mukauru Tours and Resorts. You've already indicated that you just refresh us why you started Mukauru before I speak for you.
Okay. So, when you're applying your trade in a foreign land, you always have your heart home. And you get exposed to a lot of things and also learn a lot of things. But what I've always promised myself is take some of that learning back in whatever way. Firstly, I think we all have a responsibility to create opportunities for others, in terms of employment opportunities, in terms of opportunities for people to have some of the nuggets or things that you would have learned from wherever you are. Because otherwise, the tenure, as I see it, would become useless or of no value if you don't take those learnings back. And so I've had the opportunity being out here to travel I also play a bit of golf, so we often go on golf trips. Don't ask Trevor.
You have to. All right. I'll allow you that. Your golfing friends know what your handicap is. That's fine.
It's in the 20s anyway, late 20s.
Okay, all right. I gave up golf when I was around about 16, so I could give you a good round. Yeah,
fantastic. You should go.
So, but mental health care and tourism, two different things.
Not too dissimilar, because it's all service. It's all service.
Okay.
When I say not too dissimilar, because a guest who comes to have an experience has certain expectations of how they're treated, how they're going to be looked after by the whatever facility you have. You may have a facility that is really brand spanking or high up there, but if the service is poor, that's what the person.
If the soft touch is not good.
Yeah. And one of the things I also enthuse on all my teams is let's make the service, make the person remember us and want to come back. So, and if you look at what we are doing here, it's really about how do you treat people, right? So whether it's a guest in our resorts or it's someone we are supporting here who's got cognitive impairment, is that how we handle people that matters. And so in starting Mukauru Resorts, it was again from the learnings from here, I would say the learnings from my fathers about investing in property. So I like most of us who are out here, invested in a few properties back home, but I didn't want them to just sit.
I see.
And so I said, let me turn them into things that people can enjoy.
Right? How has that journey been?
It's been up and down, I must say, but generally the trajectory has been positive.
So you have, I'm going to run through them as quickly as possible because of time constraints. Gletwin Boutique Guest House in Harare, Cafe Isano,
Yes.
in Harare, Dawendel Resort in Dawendel. And then in South Africa, you have, I think, over 6 of them. Starling Manor, in Ndlovuka's Boutique, Camel Drift Waterfront Estates, Owls Loft, and Winterfell. What's been the guiding principle in terms of the products that you're creating?
So again, it's been to create or to have facilities that are really upmarket, that people can go and
so
enjoy.
you're aiming for upmarket.
Yes.
Okay.
And people can go and enjoy, have a time of recuperation, but in environments that are really give them those comforts that they want. But as I said at the beginning, more importantly, to get the right service in terms of how they are treated. So,
how have you been marketing these services? Is it all centralized? Or do they do their own marketing as standalone businesses?
So on Monday, I just arrived from Abu Dhabi, and then and we were at a convention where we were marketing. So we do a lot of marketing in conventions, but also obviously the traditional online marketing. We are also on Booking.com, Expedia, Agoda, and all those.
Where are you getting most of your business? Is it direct business? Is it via Expedia? Is it Booking.com, lastminute.com? Where are you getting most of your
I would say it's
from?
50-50.
50-50.
Yes. Yeah. So, but we are also looking at building our own brand in terms of so we call ourselves the Mukaura Collection. And yes.
And how are the Zimbabwean assets doing versus the South African products?
Zimbabwe is a I would say a market that you need to be agile. Yes. Because unfortunately sometimes we have different statutory instruments that come up every so often. So you have to try and adjust and adapt as quickly as possible. It also has impact on people's disposable incomes at any particular time. So like this year has been a very difficult year because a lot of people haven't had a lot of disposable income. But at the same time, because the drive was to bring some of the things that we experience here, we have persevered with that in mind to say we want to still offer premium services at any particular time. So,
and your dad told you that you don't give up, hey?
Exactly. So we're not going to give up.
So you're going to hang on there.
Yes.
We did touch on wellness travel, which you're launching in 2025. How ready are you with that project? And what is it going to look like?
It's going to be a synergy between the two entities. So we already have the results. And what I did last year was to take our management team on team building to South Africa. I must tell you a secret. They all didn't want to come back.
That secret has gone public out there. They didn't want to come back.
They didn't want to come back. And they keep asking me, are we going back to South Africa and Zimbabwe? Because some came, when we were doing the recruitment, I also took some to Zimbabwe.
How big is your team on the tourism side, on the travel side?
So between South Africa and Zimbabwe, we employ about 150.
150 people. Then 250 on the UK mental health side. Tell me about the foundation. How big is the foundation, and where is your philanthropy focus there? So
the foundation is still at its infancy. We're still starting off. We've affiliated with other bigger foundations like APF. We're in Kigali in Rwanda, 2023. Under the banner of APF, and which stands for African Philanthropic Forum, which was on the invite of Mrs. Masiwa with Higher Life Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So we work together on some initiatives with them. But on our own accord, what we are looking at is starting off with providing equipment for people with disabilities. So at the moment we are building up some wheelchairs that we are going to be taking back to enable children and other adults with disabilities who don't have those facilities, which we are. And during when we had Cyclone Idai, I was involved with another group through the Zimbabwean embassy here to send some provisions to Zimbabwe. So I sent a truckload of provisions to the people in Nyanga. I must say I'm really grateful to the staff at Chilton who rallied behind the cause and put in a lot of their resources and effort and we literally filled up a truckload in no time to send back home. So yeah, those are the initiatives that we've done so far. But on a bigger scale, what the ambition is to be able to make a much bigger difference, working with others, but also on our own accord, especially on the development of young entrepreneurs. Because I think we all have a responsibility to pass on what we know.
Absolutely.
And you can't take it to the grave. It becomes useless.
Which brings me to a bigger question, Byron, which is, do you ever think about purpose?
I think
purpose?
I think we're all here for a purpose. I don't know exactly what my purpose is, but I think I do my best to disseminate what I know. And
what's your sense when you're trying to touch and feel what your purpose is? What do you think it is?
I feel it's to share what you have with others, and to try and make a difference in anyone's life. Anyone who crosses your path, if you can make a little difference, that's really important for me.
You've made a difference in me right now as we're talking. So I'm very grateful for you being open and candid, and sharing the lessons that life has taught you.
We share the same birthday as well.
We do, eh? Oh, now that explains why. Tell me, with the life that you've lived, with the work that you have done and are still doing, what message would you have to a young man in Zimbabwe right now who is struggling, who has wanted to do vet science, which means wanting to get a job, but they didn't get it, who wanted to go to school, but they didn't? The situation is tough. What message would you have for young Zimbabweans who are using drugs to numb themselves from the challenges that the economy and society is producing, who are taking to alcohol, who are considering suicide as a way of stopping the pain that they're going through? What message would you have for them?
I would say don't give up on yourself, first of all. I know it's not an easy position to be in, and often when you've been knocking on doors and there doesn't seem to be an outlet, but my message to them would be keep trying, keep going, because there's always some opportunity that will come your way. And challenge the perceptions. Challenge the perceptions, because a lot of what has happened to us is that there's a certain perception that we are seen by or perceived that this is going to be a destiny, and what you may have envisaged is going to be a destiny. I'm a living example. I never thought I would be here, and that's why I'm always eternally grateful that what I've been able to do is not necessarily of my own making, but maybe something out there had seen that this is where you could be. However, in as much as that is, you also have to work hard. You also have to apply yourself and keep going. And
do I hear faith in what you're talking about, in what you're saying?
Yes, like I said, I come from a strong Christian background. And one of the things that I talked about my grandfather. So every evening we would have Bible study, and obviously Sunday was
Sunday school.
Sunday school and preaching.
It worked, didn't it?
Yes.
Byron, this has been beautiful. You've touched my heart. You've taught me quite a lot of things. We're going to talk books because people out there love books. What 3 books have you read, Byron, that you would want to share with our book-loving viewers out there?
7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Why?
Okay, so Steve Covey has a way of speaking to you through his books, in terms of not always looking at things as they are, but having that paradigm shift. Yes, in what, and again, the same thing that I was talking about earlier about challenging perceptions. That it's not always what is presented to you that's
the reality.
Yes.
Yeah. The second book?
This is it's a book. It's actually on penguins, but it's more about the title just evaded me, but it's really about how, again, my team are going to laugh at me because I keep dropping it to them.
It happens when you're put on the spot. I mean, I pray that I never get put on the spot.
And The Power of Now.
The Power of Now. Wow.
Yes.
That's a powerful book.
Yeah.
That's a powerful book. For
but
me,
if you wanted
the Power of Now, before we go to the third, the Power of Now has had a huge effect on me. I went to Oxford University and a friend from Poland recommended it, and it's changed my perception to how I value time and being in the presence of people and being present.
Yes.
The third one, what would be the third one?
The Richest Man in Babylon.
The Richest Man in Babylon. Only yesterday, somebody else recommended it. Why do you love that book?
Again, it enables you to change your perception about money and the value in money or not. So those are the lessons that I got from The Richest Man.
Yeah, we were Dr. Jimmy Mchechetere
Okay.
sitting there the other day, and he also recommended that book. I've read that book. I've read it twice. It's a beautiful book. Byron, it's been a pleasure talking to
Thank
you.
you.
Absolutely
Thank you,
pleasure
sir.
talking to you. You are a great inspiration. The life that you've lived and what you're continuing to do, I mean, amazing stuff. Keep on doing the good stuff. Eh?
Thank you for having me.
Remain sitting there and allow me to turn to our viewers who are all over the world to say thank you for watching In Conversation with Trevor. Remember, we are a weekly show. We are out every Monday, 7 a.m. Central African time. And to ensure that you don't miss out on any of these quality conversations, remember to subscribe, to like, and share. When and if you subscribe, you'll get a notification when we have one of these quality conversations, just as the one I've had with Byron here. We've gone a step further and built a website where all our content sits, including podcasts that sit on Spotify and other platforms. We love your comments. Please share with us your views below this video, what you think about what Byron and I were discussing. Give us that feedback. Be as honest as possible. We love to hear from you. Until next time, cheers to you all.